Closed captioning is brought to you by Crown Battery, manufacturers of the Walleye One marine batteries.
You know, I not only like to catch fish, I love to eat fish, no matter where we travel to in the world. And sometimes, even besides having a fresh fish shore lunch each day, I'll have fish twice a day. But I've learned one thing, that smaller fish are better eating, and they're also better for the environment if you harvest what we call the juvenile fish instead of the large spawning fish that have a really good gene pool. I've taken a fillet off the fish. You can see that the fins are gone, and I still have the skin on the back. But what I want to explain is that these little tips that are sticking out here, these white tips, are the Y bones. And the reason they give people so much hardship is that the Y bones don't go straight down, they actually go in a curved pattern. So here's how you remove the Y bone. You place your knife in just on the inside of the Y bone, so you can see how close I am. There's the actual tips of the Y bone, and I'm running the knife, the tip of the knife, and I'm not pushing very hard because all I want to do now is mark the line for the Y bones. And believe it or not, as I'm pushing down a little bit, I can actually feel one of the Y's as I go down. So there's my strip right there. Now I'm going to take the knife and I'm going to make another incision on this side. I'm going to go underneath here, and I've almost got the whole strip done. I'm just going right to the end to make sure I've got them all. And you know what? I don't even waste the strip with the Y bones in it. I was telling some anglers that are here earlier that I will cook that strip, especially if I'm deep frying the fish. I will cook the strip of the Y bones because it's very easy to remove the Y bones from the strip once it's cooked. And here is the clean fillet without the Y bones. Now you can enjoy pike as well as your walleye when you're on a wilderness fishing trip. You know, I'm really impressed at how well the braided line works when you're trying to feel these fish. Barb, would you mind just getting the net for me?
Sure.
This guy's head shaking pretty good. I don't know if it's a small pike or whether it's a walleye. I can feel its head shake. Maybe it's a northern pike because we're not running a leader. And if it is a walleye, it should be a pretty good sized walleye.
Oh,
no,
good.
It's a small pike. So these pike are mixed right in with the walleye. This is common when you're fishing, by the way, in northern Ontario. Oh, he's almost ready. Hold on one sec, Barb. Just wait. He might take a couple more runs.
Okay.
Yeah, these pike are mixed in. A lot of times you'll go into shallow water and you won't get a lot of northern pike. But when you're fishing out here for the walleye, beautiful, Barb. I like the way you did that. You got the net right under it. And we're just going to put it over the boat right here, and I'll grab it. And I think what they're doing is when the walleye move into a spot and they're feeding on bait fish, the pike sense them and they actually move in. And the pike aren't feeding on the bait fish. I think they're actually looking for the walleye. So this guy's hooked just in the top of the mouth. So I've got to be careful. Barb, would you mind handing me the pliers that are right there? Thank you, honey. Yep, right there. Second one in. No, the other ones. And I should be able to get this out here. One thing that pike like to do, they like to latch on to your jig and they keep their mouth shut. So I don't know if I'm going to lose my little grub. It'd be nice if I could reuse it. Not a bad pike. Perfect eating size for those guys that are having shore lunch. And is the net back there, Barb? If I can just have the net, I'm going to put it in the water. Got to be very careful here. Okay, I don't know if this guy's going to take long to take off. I'm going to just try keeping its head out of the water. Mr. Pike, are you going to splash us or what? Are you going to be nice and calm? Look, you can see that nice position. I think he's just getting ready. There he goes. Beautiful. You know, if you were fishing for pike seriously, and we haven't really been fishing for pike seriously, we've just been catching them incidentally, you should be using some larger bait. So let me just bring up my duffel bag here and tell you a little bit about the variety of lures that work really well for the larger pike. We've got nice calm weather here, so I don't have a problem putting a lot of this stuff out on the shelves. So the jigs work well, and these are the finesse minnows that I've been using right here. The only thing that I would do is for the larger pike, if you're fishing deeper water, I would go to a heavier jig head. Because a lot of times when you get down that 15, 20, even 30 feet, you get some very large pike that are cruising, and I'm talking about 30 to 45 inches. And you can see that some of the finesse minnows that I have are quite large. That's about a 6-inch one right there. So I could fish that with this 5/8 ounce jig head if I put that there. That would work really well if I was fishing some deeper water drop-offs and some shoals and bars and so on. But if you were fishing shallower, I wouldn't really go too shallow here. I would probably throw either a spinner bait, and I'll show you these spinner baits that Barb and I were throwing around earlier. I've got a couple of color of them. We've done very well with these in northern Ontario lakes because literally these spinner baits are a combination of a spinner bait and a jig. So I'll put these close together so you can look at them right here. Okay, so when I say a jig, you can see that it's a fishtail. It reminds me of the old sassy shads. This is the Storm Living Wild Eye minnow, and it's on an actual blade. So this is like the actual spinner bait, but the minnow is like a jig. So in fact, if you got into some deeper water, you can actually let this drop and it'll swim down, and then when you start to lift it up, the blade engages. Or you can cast it really shallow around cattails and reeds. So I find that these spinner baits will actually produce spinner baits that have the normal living rubber on them. So they work really well. And if you were going to fish off the weed beds, then I would suggest twitching. So if you're not fishing real shallow where you need the spinner baits, or you're fishing deep with the jigs, then your best bet is to actually use one of the twitch baits. And a lot of times you'll get walleye coming up too. This one is a glass minnow, and that's number 14 Husky Jerk. And you can see here that they're all in different colors, this box. So I have them on purpose because sometimes you'll find the pike in that in-between range from the shallow to the deep water. And a lot of times you'll also intercept some walleyes using some of these stick baits right here. So really having some larger jigs, the stick baits for intermediate depths, and then some kind of spinner bait that you can fish shallow, you really have everything covered. And you should be able to get pike on demand.